Welcome back, guys, to the third round of Buckeye battles. And you may have noticed there's no round two. While I was sorting through all the photos, I realized I don't have half of the photos. I don't know what happened. All I have is turn four and up, so it's not enough for a battle report. Long story short, I believe it was a 10 to 13 or 14 loss for the Chaos Demons against a Bretonian list. It was a fun game, but I just don't have enough photos to actually recap it. So we're moving along straight to round three. The mission was Message for You. Basically, both armies had a messenger model, and the goal was to get your messenger off the table. You can pause the video and look at the stat line and items they gave the messenger, but I believe you were getting 350 points if you got off the table, and if your messenger was still, if you killed the enemy messenger, you would get another 300. So there's about 650 some points, bonus points you would get from this mission. So my flanking force had the Burning Chariot, the 12 Blue Horrors, and 2 Brimstone Horrors on my right flank. Towards the center, I had the 6 Nurgle Furies, my unit of 5 Flamers with the level 2, and the 2 Beast of Nurgle. Towards the actual center, I had the 5 Nurglings, my big Plaguebearer block, which had my BSB, General, and Messenger in it, another 2 Beasts of Nurgle, the other 6 Furies, and my Demonic Herald of Tzeentch on Burning Chariot with 3 Flamers. Moving on to my opponent, John's Wood Elves. He, not pictured, had 6 Wild Riders with the Messenger, 10 Glade Guard on the hill, and his general was the Prince on the Forest Dragon. He had a Talisman Protection, the Ogre Blade, a Befuddlement of Mischief, and an Annoyance of Netlings. So this guy is really kitted out for combat, and when I saw that, I knew I had to pretty much avoid it. I don't think I have enough shooting to actually kill him, so that was the problem. Next to the Forest Dragon, there were 6 Wild Riders of Karnoth, 2 Great Eagles, and a level 4 Treeman Ancient who knew Battle Magic. I know for sure this one had Column of Fire, Arcane Urgency. The other 2 spells I don't think came into play, so I kind of forgot. So moving towards the center, there were 2 Glade Rider units with a Great Eagle, then another unit of 10 Glade Archers with another Great Eagle and a level 4 Treeman with Battle Magic once again. The 2 spells I knew he had were Fireball and Column of Fire. The other 2 spells, it didn't really come into play, so that's all I can currently remember. And the last 2 units he had were 2 Deepwood Scouts. The whole army had the Hagbane arrows that give them poison. These 2 units, they scouted the 12 inches away from my Furies and Flamers on the left flank. So turn 1 went to Demons, and it was like a great migration effort. I pretty much made my whole army turn towards the left flank because his messenger was there, and I basically misdeployed. So to remedy the situation, every unit that could march marched in that general direction. So in this photo, you can see my Burning Chariot marching the full 18, my Brimstones. The only unit were the Blue Horrors, who moved a bit just in case John's units came too close. I could get a few shots off onto them. Towards the center, you can see the 2 Beasts of Nurgle also moved up aggressively. So did the 5 Flamers and the Nurglings. At this point, I'm forfeiting the magic missiles I have and shooting just to get in a better position. And for this photo, you can see the second unit of Furies who also marched their 16. And looking above, you can see the Plague Bearers. The Tzeentch Herald on Burning Chariot got off the Mystical Pathway spell from Elementalism, and I could put them way more forward aggressively. So really happy that spell went off. I think it's helping my positioning and slightly putting more pressure for John's flank rather than just march them directly in the center. This is just another view of the center where the beasts are just staring at the Glade Riders. With the shooting now, the three flamers you see in the left corner actually killed two of the Deepwood scouts with shooting. And now this photo shows the Furies got a charge off on the second unit. Two died from the stand and shoot reaction. We actually won that combat, and both units fled off the table, so my guys will be returning in my next turn. On to John's Wood Elf turn 1. His Dragon Lord just came barreling down to put pressure, and it looked like he was just trying to clear any skirmishing units just so the messenger could come off the table as soon as possible. So after I saw this, I think my game plan drastically changed, as I didn't expect him to be this aggressive, to be very honest with you. And his Treatment Ancient moved a bit further behind the line of sight blocking terrain. His messenger unit moved up just to be next to the Dragon Lord. So obviously he's just using this unit as a bunker to get the guy off the table as soon as possible. And his other unit just pivoted just to countercharge anything that comes too close. This was the crazy part. He used Arcane Urgency on the dragon and flung him even further. So already I felt nervous about where the dragon was. This just made it 10 times worse. I don't know why I forgot he had Arcane Urgency, so I feel like with my whole positioning, I kind of screwed up a little bit. It wasn't too scary still, but he's really, really close, and I feel like my magic support wasn't quite there to handle him. I believe this photo is supposed to show when he got to his shooting phase, the Deepwood Scouts and the Gladen Guard killed either one or two of the flamers on the left flank. Onto another devastating portion of the magic phase. So this tree man on the other flank had moved, and he threw out a column of fire, which I failed to dispel. And just due to my positioning with the Great Migration effort, my units were in a straight line. So this pillar of fire went through the Beast of Nurgle unit, the Flamer unit, and my Nurglings. I think it did no wounds to the Beast, but it killed 4 of the Flamers and did 2 wounds off of a Nurgling swarm. So it was a devastating spell that I did not expect. Onto Demon's turn 2. You can see my Plaguebearer unit is basically more than halfway up the table. After John's magic phase with the urgency and the Pillar of Fire, my game plan went from trying to tie up his messenger to trying to get mine off the table completely and forfeit that flank. So what I did was cast the Mystical Pathways once again onto the Plaguebearer block. Luckily, he failed to dispel it, and I just put the unit as far as I could. At this point, I don't want to try to fight this dragon, fight the tree man. The only goal now is to just keep marching forward aggressively with the Plague Bearers. And basically, if his messenger goes off the table and mine go off the table, try to save points and try to aim for a draw, because I think with his spell killing that many flamers, it felt like already I was on a small disadvantage. So getting a win felt a little bit unrealistic. My 2 Beast of Nurgle units also marched up their full 10 inches just to block off the second tree man and just prevent any charges coming to the flank of the Plaguebearer unit. So nothing too fancy. I guess I did take a wound from the Column of Fire or the Pillar of Fire, because I'm trying to see why a beast is wounded. Yeah, I think that's what happened. The Nurglings marched up right behind too, just to block off any Great Eagles from charging the rear, and my Burning Chariot moved up just to get closer for short range, get some shots off with my Brimstones and Blue Horrors following behind as well. My remaining Flamer, I'm trying to make him useful because he's still a level 2 wizard. He had the Hex spell for Zinch and I think Mind Razor. So he's there. I could still use him. He's on one wound, so he's really fragile now. So I'm not sure if I wanted him to fight that Great Eagle or throw more spells. I'm trying to remember, but he's there, I guess. Back towards John's messenger flank, I felt pretty confident and happy with the positioning, so my chariot got off the Gift of Mutation spell off on the dragon, so his toughness is reduced by 2. And because this little terrain piece is actually a hill, I positioned myself to be outside the dragon's line of sight arcs. Same concept applies to my lone flamer. I just moved him around to be outside the dragon's line of sight. I believe after all the shooting, we maybe got another wound off or two. It wasn't the best shooting phase, but positioning seems to be better, and I'm feeling a bit more confident. On to John's next turn for the Wood Elves. He declared a charge with the Treeman Ancient into the Beast of Nurgle on the right flank. I think he was doing this hopefully to pop them and then overcharge into the Plague Bearers. Then the Great Eagle charged the single wounded Exalted Flamer. And with the Messenger flank, his dragon couldn't get a charge, so John just moved, hoping to get a Breath Weapon attack on the Furies on this flank. And his Messenger unit pivoted, expecting my chariot to come charging the front arc of them. Then the rest of the force all start moving up aggressively. I think John really just wants to pop all the random skirmishing units and then get the messenger off the board. And with shooting, he did kill a couple blue horrors. And then this part, once again, I'm looking through my phone. I don't have any more photos for this turn. So what happened was the Beast of Nurgle unit lost, I think, 3 more wounds to the Treeman Ancient, and the remaining one still held. And for my turn, the Plague Bearers continued moving up with the Beast of Nurgle, the Chariot, and my Demonic Herald actually charged the remaining Deepwood Scouts. All I needed was to roll a 5 on the overrun, and I would get impact hits into the messenger unit, but I rolled a 4. So it just stumbled forward, and I think that was game for that flank. It was the last Hail Mary I had. It was a pretty easy charge, and if I killed his messenger, I would get 300 more victory points. And then my messenger, we did the math, he wouldn't be able to go off the board. So that one failed overrun cost the game pretty much. Onto Wood Elves' turn once again. The dragon decided just to turn around, throw the breath weapon onto one of the unit of Furies, try to get points. So really happy how the dragon never got into combat this whole game. That was the whole goal. And then the messenger unit charged the burning chariot, which was very depressing as that was the game right there. So, and then the 2 Great Eagles charged the Furies once again just for points. Then towards the middle, John had one Hail Mary through the Karnoth Riders into my Plague Bearer block. And the Tree Men did eventually pop that one Beast of Nurgle unit, moved on down. I think he wanted to cast one more spell, either it went off or it didn't. Then the last part is my Burning Chariot being surrounded by all the shots. He did live through it. So to conclude the game, the final score was, I want to say, 9-13 in John's favor. We both had our messengers alive. He did eke out, I think if we did the math, he got 1,200 points in models he killed, and I got maybe 800 some points. So the game was quite tight actually. The chariots are very expensive, so I did save a lot of points. It just really boiled down to the chariot. After I killed the Deepwood Scouts, if I just rolled a 5, those impact hits alone and the remaining attacks, I believe, would have finished off the messenger unit. But alas, it didn't happen. So it was a fantastic game against John and his Wood Elves. Really fun player to play against. So just some post-game takeaways. I'm really proud how I managed to completely neuter the dragon. With the skirmishing guys I had, their mobility, I was able just to play around him. So that was one big threat that I could completely ignore. I feel like I definitely misplayed where the messenger should have been, and probably some of the deployment. I feel like my other burning chariot should have been on the flank where his messenger was, just to put more pressure. So overall, deployment was a bit iffy. I think the decision to do magical or the mythical pathways are really was a highlight for me. And I think just overall, just the decisions I made towards the latter half felt better than the beginning. The early game after deployment, I think I didn't panic, but just was a bit more confused by my own decision making. But overall, it felt really good. The game was fantastic, felt close. Just a few mispositions and misplays, and overall, really fun. So the first day was fantastic at Buckeyes. There'll be two more battle reports coming up.